Chip Towers, by the way, of course, covered Mark Richt back when he was at Georgia for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and Chip is kind enough to join us now on the program since Mark is now, of course, the head coach of your Miami Hurricanes, and, of course, you can hear all the Hurricane games right here on Miami Sports Radio 560 WQAM. Chip, first of all, how are you doing, my man?
Well, I'm doing fantastic, just kind of getting in, just got registered a few minutes ago, just getting ready for the madness to begin.
Okay.
Gus Malzahn, as I was coming over here, and the Auburn contingent got mobbed, swallowed up by the fans up there.
Shocker.
As I was walking over here. So it's fun. Every year you come here, and it's different. This is the first time in 15 years that I've showed up, and Mark Richt wasn't going to be up there on the dais representing the University of Georgia. So that's definitely different.
Well, where do you stand on his departure? I'm just wondering, because some will think that Georgia and Georgia fans were somewhat unfair. Some will think, well, he didn't deliver the ultimate prize, which was the championship. He did a lot of winning there, but he didn't win the championship. So I'm wondering, what was your point of view when, covering Mark Richt and his career there at Georgia?
Well, I come at it from two different kind of perspectives. And number one is the guy who's been around for a long time. I mean, he basically averaged 10 wins a year for 15 years. That's better than anybody in the history of the University of Georgia, certainly in modern football, at a time where I think we can all agree that the SEC was as strong as it's ever been.
That's right.
He also led them to 2 championships, which hadn't happened in 3 decades, So, from that perspective, from a historical perspective, you're like, wow, are you sure you can do better here? You've got about the best you've had. On the backside of that, seeing Kirby Smart come in and everything, you kind of see the new energy, the new, just newness, new guy. King Kirby, we jokingly call him kind of because he can do no wrong right now. And there's been some wrong going on, just like there always is in college athletics everywhere. And I kind of get it. And in that same vein, seeing Mark, show back up down in Coral Gables and at his alma mater and all that, I mean, I'm happy for him because, one of the funny things is I hear from people all the time, Georgia fans, and they're who were split on this decision, and they're like, how's Mark? Is he okay? And I said, well, let's think about this just a minute. He got an extra $4 million to get fired. He got a job at his alma mater. He's living in South Florida where he's from. Yeah, I think he's okay. I think he's getting by.
We kind of went through this with Don Shula, right? Don Shula averaged 10 wins a year in the NFL for 30 years. And then we kind of pushed him out the door thinking, new is better. And be honest with you,
they haven't
recovered.
Yeah.
It's been 15, 16, what has it been now?
No, 7. It's
1996, 7, 96,
20 years.
7, 20 years now.
Yeah.
And the Dolphins have gone through, it feels like 20 coaches.
Well,
sometimes be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, that's the danger here. I mean, look at Tennessee and Philip Fulmer.
That's right. I always used that example a million times last year.
They're just now getting back, and that's the danger with Georgia here is there's no guarantee. I loved what Mark Richt, and I'm sure y'all have learned this about him. I mean, the man is honest as the day is long, and at his press conference, when he was going out, he said, you don't win championships around here. Things are pretty miserable. And that's what happened at Georgia. And it was an unbelievable confluence of circumstances that kept Georgia from winning another championship under Georgia. Now, keep in mind, they hadn't won an SEC championship since 1982, and he shows up in 2001, and he wins one in 2002, and he wins another one in 2005. They were knocking on the door a bunch of other times. 2007, they finished number 2, and just a weird circumstances didn't get into the national championship equation. 2012, they end up on the 5-yard line in the game against Alabama. Everybody's certain if they knock it in right there at the end of the game, then it's Georgia rather than Alabama that goes into and wins the national championship over Notre Dame. I mean, it's not like he was just sucking when they weren't winning. They were still in the conversation, but they just couldn't beat that door down.
No, I maintain, we said this to Dennis Dodd, and I mentioned it on our spring tour with Coach Richt, that if he was playing by today's rules of a Final Four, several of his Georgia teams would have been in the Final Four.
Yeah.
Would have had that opportunity to play for a championship. He probably would have been in a Final Four setup 3, 4, 5 different times.
Yeah, I think I broke that down one time and figured it to be at least 3 times they probably would have been in that situation. There was a lot of weird things that happened, like that 2007 season. They got leapfrogged by LSU, I think, or something, and just a lot of strange things happened during that BCS. That BCS model had some flaws.
Well, the one that has been able to take advantage of that. I mean, no disrespect to Alabama, they've won their championships.
Yeah,
but the ball has bounced their way.
Sure. Yeah.
Certain times, even last year, they lose to Ole Miss. Ole Miss gets beat by Arkansas, right, on one of the crazier plays that you would see. The guy flips it over his head backwards, almost as crazy as the Cornell to return. That leads to Alabama getting to the Final Four.
And that's what has to happen to get in where I come from on a personal standpoint. And I should say I have great personal respect for Mark Richt because, I saw him up close and personal, how he carried himself. He's the real deal. And I've just told people, I said, I believe in karma per se. I don't know if it's karma that I believe in. But, I think, something great's going to happen for that guy because he's done it right. He's done it right for a long time. He's not perfect. He'll tell you he's not perfect. But generally he tries to do the right things every day that he wakes up and puts his shoes on. And I think that's going to bode well for Miami. I think, I'd be very excited down there about what's happening. I'm sure it's not going to be quick. You guys know.
He didn't pick up a loaded team.
Yeah, exactly. You saw. I hear a lot of people up here say, "Well, he's got a great quarterback," and he does. I think that's a great place to start.
He does.
Depth is so important, and
they don't have the depth.
And I've heard him talk about his situation enough down there to know that he knows they still have a lot of work to do, and he'll get it done. I promise you. He did some great things for Georgia in South Florida. Look at some of the players that Georgia recruited from South Florida.
We know.
While he was there,
We know.
No Sean Marino. Sony Michel. They're two and they're one and the same to me. All those guys coming out of the South Florida area, I think it's just a matter of time before he gets really making hay. And now listen, he's going to get a few out of Georgia and those southeastern states as well because they know him and he's going to get a lot of players out
now
of
you just hit on a big home run because this would be in your wheelhouse, so and I'll come back to what you just said, that from 1987 to 2007, the University of Miami had 10 defensive linemen, maybe even 10 defensive tackles, drafted, 8 number 1 picks. They haven't had one since 2007.
I know.
And where are they all going? They're all in this conference, and they're all in these smaller towns in the southeast. And Mark Richt, to your point, is going to get into those areas because he's had success there. And there's good football. There's good football played outside of our area.
Oh, yeah.
There's good football played all around the country. There's great football played in the southeastern states.
Those kind of hogs don't produce in Florida. That's the thing. We have more of the
skill guys. Yeah,
those are our guys.
You need those big old South Georgia, plowboys and
corn-fed guys.
That's right.
We don't have those guys, and they've got to go get those guys.
And that's the reality is because Mark Richt instantaneously he has credibility, he has name recognition with those people, he has relationships with the coaches, and let's face it, he has strong Christian values that rings well. When you're going across Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, northern Florida. That resonates with those kids, and it's just a matter of time. And the one thing that he's going to be able to offer that some of these other some of these other coaches aren't going to be able to offer is immediate opportunity, and he's going to be able to make things happen with that.
Yeah, and I think because the skill set guys go to the University of Miami, that's going to help him turn that corner a little faster.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
Yeah, because that's been the history. Even through the downturn of the Canes here over the last 12, 14 years since the early 2000s, they still have more successful first-rounders than anyone else in the NFL.
Yeah, it's nice.
Well, I don't know.
And they've been on a down.
Not recently.
Seriously,
not recently. In the
their
last 10
years, their first rounders still make all the NFL teams. They're still successful.
No, I understand.
Not saying drafted overall. You might have some other schools that may have had more first rounders, but Miami's first rounders still in the 2000s.
From early, but they haven't had many recently in the first round.
Last year. They just had Eric Flowers and who else got in there? Dorset, right? Didn't they both get in? That's what I'm saying. But they're still getting players drafted on a downswing. That's the impressive part. Wait till you get a Mark Richt in place for the next 5 years.
One of the things that Chip mentioned,
and it's going to be even better.
One of the things you mentioned depth, and everybody says depth, right? In the old days, you would say you would get out in front, right? Oh, get out in front in these blowout games, and you were able to play your second and third team guys, which was important. That doesn't matter now. You need your second. When coaches refer to depth, they need them to play now.
Yeah,
because they're giving up 400 yards a game.
Right, because the games, you're playing 2 games in one.
That's right.
Because of so many plays.
Yep.
Teams are running 80, 90 plays at you. You don't have an 11-man defense anymore. You need a 22-man defense.
There aren't dominant defenses.
That's
anymore.
one of the reasons why those spread teams that run a lot of plays, it works. It's a battle of attrition.
Right.
You don't have the guys that come in where you're not going to be able to stand up for an entire game.
Well, look at Alabama.
That's where Alabama excels.
Exactly. I mean, they were able to hold up to Clemson in that national championship game because they just rolled.
Right.
Defensive line. And it's one thing when everybody can bring another guy in, but do you bring a guy in who's just as good as the guy that came out? That's what Alabama's doing. That's what everybody's got to do to keep up with this fast-paced offense.
Miami hasn't been able to do that.
No, that's why they do have, like to your point, they are getting guys drafted. It's pockets, guys here, guys there. But in the old days, that was good enough because you played a game.
You played
a normal
plays,
game.
Right, yeah.
You could wear them down. You didn't. Miami's losing partially because of the battle of attrition. They have pockets of good players, but there's a big drop-off.
Yeah.
And when that wave comes in, it's easy to pick a team apart. Coach Rick talked about it all spring when fans on the spring tour, Coach, you're going to play man-to-man defense? And he broke it down and said, well, all it takes is one guy that can't play man-to-man. And if one guy can't play man-to-man, then that's who they're going to work on the entire game. I'm not interested in that. But he is interested in getting across the line of scrimmage, and I do think their tackles for losses will pick up.
And let's be honest, he's not going to be able to do what he wants to do in the first year because he doesn't have the people.
It's going to take time, but he's got the template, he's got the model. He had it in place. I'm impressed with some of the guys that came with him from Georgia. I mean, I think Thomas Brown is a great coach. I think some of those strength guys are going to do a great job for Miami. And, it's just getting started. He knows how to build it, and he's going to build it one brick at a time, to use an overused cliche. But and he'll do it the right way. It won't be a quick fix. He'll do it the right way and identify the right people and bring them in there and make sure they stay.
Chip Towers, Atlanta Journal-Constitution, thank you, sir. Appreciate the time.
Good to see you guys. All right.